Mozart gave concerts at which his own new works were played, either symphonic or chamber music, or for solo instruments. And there might be some time set aside for improvisation on given themes, all in the course of one long evening. These soirees were rather pretentiously called academies, and part of Mozart's duties was to print and to sell the tickets. After all, wasn't he a musician? At this time, pragmatism reigned supreme. A composer wrote for the instruments available at any given time and no nonsense. Or he might be able to sell works by subscription for amateurs to play at home. No centre of the arts has played a bigger role in the history of music than Vienna. This imperial city on the Danube attracted the greatest creative talents, as well as the most ambitious of mediocrities, which spelled trouble among a snobbish aristocracy, unable to distinguish the two groups from each other with any degree of confidence. Vienna became the inevitable arena for the game of musical backbiting, a city in which coffee and scandal were both served up in small cups with an abundance of whipped cream, usually in the same place at the same time. Mozart had been a butt of these intrigues, a tradition which lasts to this day, when, as a child, he had seen the premiere of his opera La Finta Semplice cancelled as a result of backstage infighting by older colleagues. Later, he reported to his father his delight at the failure of Salieri to sabotage the performance of Figaro. It is to Salieri's credit that he was one of those jealous of Mozart's talent, not merely jealous of his career. But of course, he had no need to be. He had been, from an extremely tender age, the uncrowned monarch of Vienna's musical life, a confidant of the imperial family, teacher of the great and the wealthy, to say nothing of his being an excellent administrator. The malicious rumors suggesting that Salieri had murdered Mozart are, of course, fairy tales, immortalized by Pushkin in his verse drama Mozart and Salieri, and later perpetuated by Peter Schäfer's play Amadeus. As a pretext for a fictionalized drama, it's perfect dramatic material, but it is distinctly disturbing that such actions are attributed to men who once lived and reacted rather differently to one another. Salieri not only admired Mozart, but at the premiere of The Magic Flute was seen and heard to lead the applause after every number. Beethoven thought highly of him and was astounded that he should volunteer to play the timpani at the premiere of Beethoven's own Wellington Victory Symphony. If any good has come out of the whole wretched distortions, quite apart from the enjoyment of Pushkin and Peter Schäfer's art, it is that the music of Salieri is enjoying a distinct revival in concert, on record, and on tape. It's perhaps a paradox, but as too often, the paradox is only just. Mozart died of natural causes, as did many others during a cholera epidemic. But it's true that Mozart's late championship of opera in German did seem a particular provocation to the influential Italian lobby in the musical life of Vienna, especially after his triumphs with the opera in Italian. The battle for the emperor's attention was unending, and the contention between the two languages was particularly fierce in Austria, where German was officially spoken, but which had a predilection for the sheer musicality of Italian and a predilection for music itself. The premiere of Don Giovanni took place in Prague, a city not less musical than Vienna, but with far less inhibited complexes. It was a triumph. The subsequent reception in Vienna was lukewarm. The emperor, forever nervously in search of the common touch, explained it this way: divine music, but a bit too tough for our Viennese teeth to chew on. There were some who found Da Ponte's libretto to be as improvised as seduction itself. Later, Beethoven was to declare the theme to be morally unsuitable for opera, as opposed to life, one supposes. But by then, Beethoven was too late. The public had taken the opera to its heart, as Mozart knew it would eventually. The figure of the commendatore, more impressive as a stone effigy than as a swordsman in his dotage, has been subject to many interpretations, as has Don Giovanni, the compulsive seducer, coveter of other men's possessions, inveterate trampler of the greener grass. Mozart, with his penetrating perception, shows that despite his emotional impotence, Don Giovanni could not have succeeded in his seductions without the tantalizing encouragement of his quarries. Seduction, he says, is complicity. It's not rape. It is the thrilling act of compelling a contribution from the victim towards her own eventual downfall. For the sake of tight-lipped hypocrisy, Mozart arranged a terrible retribution for Don Giovanni, while he himself enjoyed the attentions of 3 prima donnas singing the parts of Donna Anna, Elvira, and Zerlina during rehearsals. As he might have said in his perfect French, jamais deux sans trois, never 2 without 3.